Okay, so we are going to use the first few minutes to understand some basic things that you are to expect as far as the use of SPSS for HR analytics is concerned. I presume a number of you might have already used or experienced SPSS in your academic trajectory. But for the benefit of our colleagues that may be conducting any form of data analysis for the first time, I believe it is strongly important for us to equip ourselves with some of these fundamentals. So SPSS for HR analytics. The idea behind any form of analysis, whether you are using SPSS, you are using R, you are using Stata, Python, or any form of sophisticated tool, is that once you understand the fundamentals, then it becomes quite easy for you to even switch from one analytical tool to the other. So for instance, some of my colleagues are of the view that SPSS is the foundation that once you are equipped with it, you will be able to survive in transmitting the same idea to other sophisticated software such as R, Stata, Tableau, or any complicated tool. And I also subscribe to that view in the sense that based on my experience over the past few years in teaching this course, I've come to realize that when you use SPSS to treat the course, it is easier for students to appreciate the simulations that will be transparent, particularly because SPSS has a room for an analyst to be using what we call drop-down menus to be executing some specific functions. Unlike in other programming software such as R, which may be Stata, which may require you to be coding or programming as you execute some specific tasks. So for students that may be more interested in not the programming aspect, but how to execute a particular command and also make meaning or interpretation out of it, I believe strongly SPSS will be able to do justice to that task. So we are going to use the SPSS 27. There are several versions of SPSS. Those days, the versions we were using did not have any aspects or component where you can be running or you can be coding or running your syntax. But the evolution of data analytics has prompted the developers of SPSS to now integrate a component that works like you are programming in R or maybe in Python, but it does not require you to be chewing the formulas and the command prompts just as it ensues in R or Python, which makes SPSS also a go-to software when it comes to any form of data analysis. And as I indicated, by the end of this lecture, we are going to have a very short but practical interaction wherein the class will be introduced to the SPSS interface. And I'll take my time to explain the fundamental portions of the SPSS interface you will need to survive in any analytical exercise. An attempt will also be made to do two main activities. One, to enter data into the SPSS software. And two, when the data is already prepared on a different software, how to import it into the SPSS software. This is important because In some social or work environments, you may be having the data on a sheet of paper, compiled on a sheet of paper. It may be an attendance record. It may also be an accident record, which you will have to manually enter into the software. Under such circumstance, how do you handle it? So that is why we will be looking at how data is entered. Thereafter, if you are also finding yourself in a work environment where the data set exists on an available file or software, how do you import it into the SPSS software to perform some specific functions with it? So we look at it. And if you cast your mind back to the assignment that I've given you, a number of you are trying to use Google's forms to run your surveys. And once the survey is done, the Google form will allow you to generate the received data in either an Excel format or a CSV format, all of which can be equally imported into your SPSS file. Now, once we are in tune with the importation or the entry of data into the software, then we will also attempt to run some basic statistics, particularly the descriptive stats, to know how, for instance, if you want to run frequency of a particular data set, where do you go and how do you run it? If you want to check the mean, standard deviation, the minimum score, the maximum score of the various variables or data sets available to you, how do you go about it? And finally, we will also try to interpret the results that will be generated following the data analysis. In the course of the simulations, I will also be introducing you simultaneously to how to use the syntax component of the SPSS. So, as I indicated earlier on, the recent versions of SPSS provide room for the analyst to program or write in a language understandable by the software without necessarily using the drop-down command. And so that is the use of the syntax component of SPSS. And an advantage of this additional tool that has been embedded in the new versions of SPSS is that once you finish any series of commands in the SPSS, all the codes that were used in executing such commands are stored. And you can copy and save these codes on a different, maybe a Word document, so that in future, if your supervisor wants to replicate all the results that you obtained, the only thing you have to do is to submit that particular file to your supervisor. And the supervisor, having imported your data, can execute the same command and achieve similar results. Again, assuming you also want to run the data set all over again, that syntax output you have copied and saved somewhere will also give you a heuristic approach of running the entire data set without going through one by one or starting from scratch. So that is a novelty that the current versions of SPSS have over the earlier ones. All right. Okay. So what is SPSS? Generally speaking, SPSS is an abbreviation for Statistical Package for Social Sciences, which means the philosophy or the intuition behind the development and application of SPSS is for those of us that are in the social sciences. And when I say social sciences, I am separating our field of study from the natural sciences, such as physics, chemistry, who conduct most of their activities in a controlled laboratory. In social sciences, if you, for instance, in the world of work, it will be very, very difficult to say you are conducting an exercise or a test that mimics the sort of activities that occur in the physical sciences. So if you go out there to start collecting your data, you cannot impose or require your respondents to stop attending to their customers, stop attending to their equally important organizational and familial or personal endeavors. Unlike in the physical sciences, where you can set up a laboratory to control the sort of activities and inactivities that ensue within the laboratory. And so anytime we talk about a study in the social sciences, we are making reference to the conduct of a research or a study in the social environment of individuals or humans. And this social environment is such that it entertains all forms of human interaction and intercommunication, which in itself can serve as an extraneous variable to affect the outcome of a particular study. Again, SPSS is particularly important for research in social sciences because most of the variables, constructs that are investigated cannot be construed as the reality on the ground. Rather, these constructs or variables are constructed based on the subjective opinions of the respondents. Let me take this one again. So we normally employ SPSS in social sciences because it is premised on the idea that events of the world, particularly in our social environment, in our world of work, are such that it cannot be measured with 100% certainty. If you are trying to measure the level of satisfaction of employees and you administer any questionnaire, the numbers they will be assigning, or the taking, the selection they will be assigning to a particular facet of the variable, ranging from strongly agree to strongly disagree, those numbers cannot be construed as something that is hardcore and that is of equal measure compared to the measures in the physical sciences, because they are the perceptions and attitude of the respondents to that particular facet of the questionnaire. The implication is that the aggregation of such subjective opinions of individuals does not connote that we are actually indulging in something which, in your research method that you learn, construe positivism. And that implies that SPSS provide a room for us to embrace measures in the social world with a philosophy that we call post-positivism. So post-positivism here means that there is an admittance that because we are measuring the subjective opinion of individuals, which are construed maybe in an ordinal, in a nominal, or in an interval scale, those aggregations cannot be treated as a positivist way of treating instruments in the physical sciences. Rather, it's allow room for the biases, the weaknesses of individuals to be contained in it. Because generally speaking, humans are fallible to what? Mistakes. And SPSS provide room for some of these things to be what? Entertained. So by going through, by trying to use the SPSS setup, we will learn how to enter data, which in fact, all these are not going to be done today, but the intuition behind it is that by the end of the semester, you should have learned how to enter your data, clean the data, run any statistical analysis that your research objectives or hypothesis may be striving to achieve. You should also be able to intersperse your statistical output with some charts and diagrams that will make it more interesting and inciting when managers are reading your report. So what sort of analysis can we use SPSS to run? It is multifold. Any HR metric that an analyst wants to interrogate can be analyzed and examined using SPSS. So if we want to check the factors that collate to formulate employee engagement, we can use factor analysis in SPSS to run that. If we want to verify whether there are salary differences between the genderless, we can use SPSS to do that. In fact, if you want to do gender comparisons with a particular HR outcome, such as performance, whether gender performance differs with gender, we can do that. If you want to verify the efficacy of a particular training intervention, we can use SPSS to do that. Check the trend of absenteeism. So an organization may be, managers may be complaining that there seems to be a nerve break in the reportage of absenteeism in the organization. If we want to see whether indeed that is a trajectory that the organization must take a serious look at, we can use trend analysis to check how that trajectory is going, whether it is indeed a serious thing or not. So SPSS can be utilized in conducting several analytical inspections. All right. Now, to open the SPSS, these are some few commands that you may follow. But that is also premised on the idea that you already know where the shortcut to your SPSS is saved. So assuming the shortcut is on your desktop, then you can go there straight away and use these steps to start making it active by double-clicking the IBM SPSS Statistics 27 or the version you have. And once you double-click it, a couple of windows will pop up. Then if you are going to enter the data from scratch, then you will select new data set and finally choose blank data set. If your SPSS software does not have a shortcut on your desktop, then you will have to use the start menu to trace exactly where it is saved. And that will give you a heuristic access to the SPSS software. Now, once you execute that command, you are going to get this interface. Assuming you are opening it for the first time, then you are going to get this interface. And in fact, this is two-layered interface. The first layer is the welcome prompt from the SPSS software that gives you several options you can use to manage your data sets. And down here is the restore points function, which gives you an opportunity to continue any SPSS data set or any analysis that you were working on, which you pause for a while. So assuming we had run different, we were running different data analysis, then they would have populated down here beneath this inscription. It would have populated down here. But beyond that, if there are recent files that you have also executed, when you click on, When you click on the recent files, they will populate down there so that it also gives you an opportunity to select them. And then once you select the recent file of interest, you open it from this particular option. Then thirdly, the current versions of SPSS, just as R, already have sample data sets embedded in it. And so there are data sets on accidents, data sets on marketing, data sets on drunk driving, a whole lot of data sets, which you can play with to understand how to actually use the software. And those ones are the data sets that others have used over time, which gave them a better way of illustrating a particular point as far as the various analytical tools in SPSS are concerned. So that is it. Now, to understand the interface, in fact, at this point in time, I want you to be interested in two main aspects of the SPSS interface. That is the input viewer and the output viewer. But the input viewer can be broken down to four main parts, including the menu bar, the tools bar, the data view, and the variable view. And the second one, which is the output viewer, is normally a separate window that pops up. Immediately you start inputting data or you open an existing data through the SPSS software. So for now, the most important or fundamental portions of the SPSS interface, which I want you to pay attention to, include the input and the output viewer. And the input viewer has components such as the menu bar, the tools bar icon, the data viewer, and the variable viewer. Then the output viewer. Okay, so this is how the data editor or the input viewer looks like. The data editor or the input viewer, this is how it looks like. And it has several key components. So as I indicated, the top aspect here, where are you able to see my my mouse moving?
Yes, please.
So
yes,
where we have the file editor,
yes,
view, data, transform, analyze, graphics, utilities, extension, windows, and help, that is what we call the menu bar. It is called menu bar because it is composed of several things that can be used as an analytical tool for a particular data set. So if I want to conduct regression, it is this menu bar that will give me an opportunity to run it. If I want to open an existing SPSS data file or an Excel file, this is the menu bar that will help me do that. If I want to save a particular task in SPSS, this is the menu bar that will help me execute that. Now, immediately beneath the menu bar is what we call the tools bar. So these tools beneath the menu bar are more or less like the additional tools we have in our car, which can help us perform efficiently well as and when it is required. So they are more or less like icons. But you can see the icon for folder here, icon for floppy disk. I wonder if you people came to meet floppy disk. Those days, we used to save all our data and information on a floppy disk, unlike now that you can even save it in your email on a pen drive and all that. So you have how you can print here. You can go back and forth using this do and undo command here. You can split the data You can sort it. All those specific tools are down here. In fact, within the data, you can also search. For instance, if you are searching for a particular employee ID, maybe you realize that there is a duplication or triplication, and you have identified that particular employee. So you want to search for that employee and delete the duplication. This is the tool bar that will help you do that. In fact, the one, there's blue circle here, that is the search option. So that is the tools bar. Beyond the menu bar and the tools bar, then there's also the third and fourth components of the data editor or the input viewer, which includes data view and variable view. At any point in time, the analyst is expected to be switching between the data view and the variable view. The data view and the variable view. The data view is essentially the portion of the SPSS interface which depicts all the data entries or the data set you are going to run. So data on employee age, their gender, their religion, education, level of satisfaction, engagement, salary, their date of birth, all those information can be found in the data view. Then there is also the variable view. The variable view also gives an opportunity to the analyst to define the various variables that are going to be analyzed. It gives an opportunity to the researcher to define the various variables that are going to be analyzed. And what do I mean by the various variables? So at any given point in time, analysis within SPSS ensue across several spectrum of a data sets. And if you want to really define and operationalize how the SPSS software should be able to understand gender anytime it comes across the numbers beneath that particular variable as gender, it is under the variable view that you will define it. Mind you, SPSS, although it grants room for the data to be labeled in order to differentiate one aspect of it from the other, it's the program understands numbers very much. And so at some point in time, it even devoids the analyst from labeling or naming variables by leaving spaces. It's easier to work in SPSS when you are dealing with numbers than words or teams. And so let me use this opportunity to even advise you that when you finish collecting your data using the Google form, you will have to convert, and now a lot of the number, the labels or the teams you have in there into numbers. If you take, for instance, gender, I am sure your CSV file is, or the Excel file is going to give you gender, male, female. But when you come to the the variable view here, you are supposed to define that anytime SPSS sees 1, that represents male. And anytime it sees 2, it represents what? Female. At your own description, you may even use 0 and 1. So anytime you want an opportunity to do any of these definitions and operationalization, then you will come to the variable view. Indeed, the scale of measurement for all your variables will also have to be defined under the variable view. And what I mean by this is that gender will be measured using a nominal scale. Age will be measured using an interval scale. Education, level of education will be measured using an ordinal scale. Engagement, depending on whether you have multiple items that are going to be used to create a composite variable, then it may be either ordinal or an interval. So all these clarifications have to be provided to SPSS under the variable view in order for it to understand what you expect it to do whenever you are running a particular command. So that is the data editor interface, which is composed of the data editor interface is composed of several facets, including the tools bar, the menu. So the menu bar is up here, then the tools bar, the data view, and then the variable view, how do you call it, bars, which you may be switching between them. Then the other interface of SPSS, which is also important for you to note, is what we call the output viewer. The output viewer. Okay, so for now, ignore all the logs, output logs we have on our left side here. The output viewer is also the interface that showcase any results for a command you have executed. So if you issue a command to run descriptives, then the results will pop up here in your output viewer. If you issue a command to check the frequency of your data sets, then it will pop up in the output viewer. If you issue a command to check the to run independent t-tests, pair t-tests, ANOVA, correlation, regression, the results will pop up here. So that is basically the output viewer and how it may look like, depending on the sort of command you have executed. Any question before I proceed? In fact, for now,
okay, so sir.
Yes, hello.
So please, during the part you were explaining for gender, so to insert the gender values, it will be done at the variable view side.
Yes, it will be done at the variable view side. There is a portion there that we call values, which will give you room to input how you may want to define males in your data set and females in your data set. In fact, we'll be coming shortly to that when we start the practical sessions.
Okay, sir, thank you.
But for now, I want you to get some few materials that later on you can even make reference to when you are going through it yourself.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so I think I have explained the data view. Let me see if I left something out. The data editor view is composed of where you interact with your data, exactly. So you are the data view and the data view and the variable view are normally found at the bottom, which you can be switching between. And the data view, yes, it resembles that of an Excel spreadsheet where the row represents the responses of individual cases. In SPSS, when we say an individual case, we are making reference to a respondent or an employee. So because I'm dealing with HR practitioners, any case, the number of cases you have, it's referred to the number of employees that are in your data sets. And the columns represent the variables, whether gender, age, their level of satisfaction, engagement, salary, date of birth, or any other variable. Then the variable view is a metadata sheet where you define properties of each column in the data view, such as the name of the variable, the type, label, measurement, whether nominal, ordinal, and yeah. So I think most of these things will be internalized when we start running the simulations. So normally, if you already have data in the loaded into the SPSS software, this is how the data view will look like. You see, so at the row here are the labels or the names of each of the variables that are of interest in this particular analysis. And at the columns here are the various cases or respondents and as employees whose data are going to be analyzed. Right? So normally this is how the data editor interface will look like. Let me see. And the variable view session too, this is how it looks like. So you remember the names of the variables that we found on the data view are all listed under names here. Then you will also get the opportunity to define the type of data set that you are dealing with. Normally, by default, it is set as string. But if you have some data set that are such that it needs to be defined beyond string, for instance, if you have date of birth in it, then it is important you set it as date for SPSS to understand that language. If you are dealing with a data set like salary that is defined in a particular currency, then you may also have to define it over here. In fact, SPSS has room for you to also use additional currencies beyond the dollar or the euro sign. So if it is in cities, there is room for you to also define it over there. But by how do you call it? By default, all these, the typology of data set associated with the variables are normally set as numeric. Even if you don't change it and you run, it will run perfectly for you. Then for the width and the decimals, those ones, the system will generate it automatically depending on the variations in the numbers that you have. Then the decimal points, you can set it. You can set it to 0, 1 decimal point, 2 decimal places, and all that. But by default, you can set it at 0 so that the numbers can be constrained. Then the labels here, as an analyst, you have to give proper meaning to the names that are here so that when you present your results, those labels will pop up. So what some experts decide to do is that they just copy all the characteristics under the names here and paste it here, which is fine. But if you want to give proper labeling or proper characterization to the variable that you are dealing with, then you can define it over here. So at this level, you are expected to be very much creative. The way I may label my data set may be totally different from yours. So here is borders on your subjective way to label them. Then the values. The guy that just asked me a question, this is where you will be defining the various variables based on how you scaled them. Remember, any questionnaire or any data set must have a definition for the variations of a particular variable, right? So normally in our context, we expect gender to be dichotomous. you are either a male or a female. So when it comes to the values over here, what you use to define them is that you will have to decide whether you want males to be 0, whilst females will be 1. So that anytime you are running the analysis and it counts all the zeros, it will be aggregated to represent the males. And when it counts all the ones, so it will aggregate them to represent the females. All those definitions, if you are measuring job categories, you will have to define the number of categories that are available in your organization and represent each of them with specific numbers so that the SPSS will understand it in that language. The same about pre-experiment, number of minorities that you are dealing with. So if there are categories, there are levels, there are variations in it, you will have to use numbers. In fact, you will have to code those various variations of a variable and enter it under the value section. Now, when there are missing data, they will show up here. Although there are other sophisticated searches that you can do to check their frequencies and whether certain portions are also missing. So that is by way of a quick introduction to how the variable view may also look like. Okay, so as I was explaining earlier a while ago, the variable view is composed of several variables that are going to take a center stage in your analysis. And the columns of the variable demarcates the names of your various variables. And mind you are not supposed to be leaving spaces. When you are, so for instance, if you are writing GCTU, it has to be written together. Don't leave spaces. If you are writing Ghana Communication Technology University, you can rather separate the words with underscore. But whatever you do, try and find an economical way to communicate it without leaving spaces. Otherwise, it will pop up as an error. Then it also gives you the opportunity to determine the type of data you are going to run, and by default, it will be set at numeric, which will work for every data set. Then the label, which gives a deeper explanations of the name that you are dealing with. And for the label, that is where you can write it in full. Then the values is where you use to define exactly what the various categories stands for. And the scale of measurements will also be defined under the measures. So this implies that you have to know ahead of time the scale of measurement that will suffice for all your variables. The scale of measurement that will suffice for all your variables, because SPSS is a machine or is a tool. And if you don't know what you are doing, you will garbage in something and it will also garbage out something for you. And you'll be running around saying, oh, I got some results. But when you run a faulty setup, then it may also be what? Misleading. So at any point in time, you have to be in charge of what is happening. And the data view also, as I indicated, provide you an opportunity to see the details of the various data sets. And by rule of thumb, each of the row, as I indicated, represents the number of cases or respondents or employee. So if you are on a single row, then it means you are dealing with the responses of only that particular employee. And it also gives you an opportunity to enter the scores. So assuming you have the paper or the questionnaire beside you and you are trying to look at it to enter the data, it is the data view that will give you room to input the data. Because the data view is by default only ready to accept numbers. You cannot be typing labels or teams such as male, female, GCTU, but rather the code that you inputted when you were characterizing your variable under the variable view will now have to be captured over here. But most importantly, anything you execute there, make sure you save it, because if you don't save, you all your exercise will be in futility. So as much as possible, if you work to a particular point, then you save. The newer versions of SPSS fortunately prompts you anytime you are trying to close it, but the older ones have some glitches in it, wherein sometimes your machine may go off, then it will also close right away without prompting you to save. But to be on the safer side, if you are dealing with machines that are not reliable, a machine that may go off anytime, in our offices, you may not have some of these standby gensets and I'm kind of say crampo. Is it stabilizer or so?
UPS.
UPS, good. Uninterrupted power supply. You may not have some of these gadgets available until light and call of boom, then you also lose everything. If you don't want to be experiencing some of these things, after a while, then you do Control S. You just be clicking on the save button under the tools, we say the tools bar, so that it saves your data set, your manipulations in real time. Now, if you want to run, some of these things will be clearer when I start doing the practical side. So if you want to run, assuming you have entered your data set and you want to run some descriptors, for instance, frequencies, these are the instructions. You will go to analyze under the menu bar. Remember, I mentioned the menu bar allow you to execute a lot of analytical functions. So if you want to conduct frequencies, in fact, most of the analysis you'll be using the analyze icon under the menu bar. So you click on analyze and look for descriptive, then you go to statistics and then frequency. Then, okay, boom, it will give you something in your output viewer. If you want to conduct thorough descriptives where you want to check the mean, standard deviation, minimum number, maximum number, for instance, for a particular number of variables, then when you get to analyze descriptive statistics, then you select not only one variable, but all those variables. I'll be showing you very soon how all those things are done. And once you follow these instructions and you click on OK, you'll get something in your output viewer for further interpretation. Okay, so normally once you run all those commands, then you should be getting some of these things in your output viewer. All right, so we are going to, at this point, you can switch on, you can switch on your SPSS software. I'm also going to navigate for you to see how that is done. Are you able to see my screen?
Currently, no.
No, sir.
Okay, so just a minute. Oh. I wanted you to see where I was going to look for the icon to click on my, but because I'm recording, I'm not able to toggle down to select it. So most of the things that I do are behind the scenes. But anyway, just try and look for your IBM SPSS Statistics 27 on your machine, and then you will double click. It will open it for you. I am doing same at my end. So once it is open, I will share my screen for you to see. Depending on the capacity and specs of your machine, some may open faster, whilst others may be quite slower. But irrespective of these things, you should be able to still run it seamlessly. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Someone should tell me what currently you are seeing.
So, sir, currently I can see IBM SPSS statistics. Below it, we have new files. And within the new files, we have new data sets query.
Mm-hmm.
Then we come to restore points.
Aha. So this is what I was saying, that if it is the first time you're opening it, then you are going to get this other additional window, which is to say that you see the information that I have over here, the auto recover. It means at some point in time, I did not close it properly. And so it is giving me an opportunity to open it and continue from where the machine went off. But the challenge with some of these auto recovery opportunities is that it may not take you to the last manipulation of the data that you did, although it can take you to a point which may not require you to start from scratch. Into assuming we are more office and it boom, you did not have any backup UPS. Once you put it on again, you can use this auto recovery option to navigate back to at least some points in order to continue. But for now, we are not interested in this one. Mm-hmm. And also, I was also saying, if you have any recent files that you've worked on, when you toggle down here or you switch between these menus down here, you will see them. So initially, this is where it brought us, but these are some files that I've already worked on. So assuming I want to go to a bank loan data set that I was working on, or a customer satisfaction data set that I've worked on recently, then they will all be here. And if I don't have any data set, but I want to use the one that is embedded in SPSS to learn analysis, fortunately, there are sample files in there, ranging from accident file, there's bank loan file here, broadband file, car sales file, so many customer satisfaction file, and so on and so forth, which you can be trying your hands on, right? But for now, we don't need these aspects of the SPSS. So what you do is that you close it like this. When you close that window, then the next one, which is just a minute to. Hello? Hello? Are you there?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I was saying you will close this one, and then it will give you the data editor view. Can any of you mention some of the components of the data editor view from what I have said so far? What are some of the components or some of the labels or parts on the data editor or the input view? What are some of the parts?
So we have file, edit.
Okay, so that particular constitution of labels, how do we call it?
Menu bar.
Menu bar.
Very good, menu bar. And beneath the menu bar, the other tools here, how do you call it?
Tools bar.
Bar.
Very good. Just a minute. Then, what are some other components of the data editor viewer? We have the data
view and
the
then
variable view and the
view.
data view. Right? Okay.
Okay.
Now, what did I say about the data view? What do we do here? What do we do here? The data view.
So this is where you input your data.
That is where you input the data. And the variable is where you do what?
So say with the variable, that is where, for example, when we ask about the gender, you input your values.
So that is where you define your variables. So
Yes,
let's
please.
quickly try and learn something here. For it to work, you have to activate it. And to activate it, just type in any of the cells, it will activate. Now, so which variable should we create? Let's say gender. And then what else? Gender and what? Age. Then let's say education. Another monka say education. Good. Now, are you seeing some changes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What changes are you witnessing now?
So say after you type within the names, now there are some changes within the types with the decimals to the end.
Exactly. Which means that by default, it is expecting us to define all the other components of the various variables that we have inputted over here. Now, for the label, I indicated that you have to be creative. Just a minute. So we are learning by doing. If you want to delete all these things, you select them. In fact, you put it here, and then you select the first one, then you click on Control, then you'll be selecting the remaining ones. Here we are trying to clear all of them. So you do clear, then it will clear for you. All right. So I was saying for the labels, you have to be creative in how you provide the labels for your variables. And within 1 and 40, you can create any theme that you think is suitable for it. But if you don't have time, you can just copy these, Control C, copy, then you come here, Control V. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, Control V, then you paste, right? Are you following? Hello?
Yes, Prof, we are following.
Sir, we
Very
are following.
Now, gender. How should we, you will activate the values components by clicking on that particular pop-up notification that came. And once you click on it, this additional pop-up will showcase. Here, we are expected to provide values for the various dimensions of gender. The various dimensions of gender. And it's based on you, the researcher. If in your estimation, there are only 2 genderless, then what should the first genderlet be represented numerically by? What should the second genderlet be represented numerically by? But if you are going by the alphabet people's nomenclature, then you may have to give several values for each of the dimensions of your gender spectrum, right? So here it depends on your definition of what constitutes gender in your research. And I was saying that between 0 to whatever number of dimensions you will have to define it over here. So we can say we want to represent males by 0, then you label it here male. Once you do this, then you add. Are you seeing? Then females by what? 1. Then you add. Are you observing? Okay.
Yes, sir.
For now, it was expressing the numbers in 2 decimal places. If you are not comfortable with that, we can come here and change all of them to 0. That is no decimal places. So let's go back and see whether the changes have affected. Are you seeing the changes?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, for age, what did I tell you the other time? As far as age is concerned. What did I tell you the other time as far as age is concerned?
You said we should create a space for the people to put their actual ages.
Exactly.
And not
so if we had done that, then there will be no need for us to come here and define it, because we are expecting to have several variations in the ages of our respondents, and there will be no need to be using values to define it. Please, is it clear? However, assuming you are going by the use of categories to box your respondents to tick one of them, then you will have to define them over here. So on your questionnaire, you may be having 20 to 21. Sorry, 20 to maybe. Let me look. I'm looking for one guy, but then check with this here. Ewa, are you there, Benjamin? Hello,
Sir,
Benjamin.
please, I'm here. Sir, I'm here.
On your questionnaire, how did you define the ages? Did you use categories?
Yes, please, we use categories.
So what is your first category?
Sir, please hold on. Let me confirm them for you again.
Okay.
Okay.
Is John Ochre here?
So, sir.
Yes. No. Yes.
Have you found it?
Yes, please, I found it.
So how did you define it?
So the first one is below 25 years.
Good. So wait, below 25. Yes. So that will be 1, right?
1. Yes, please.
Then the 2 was what?
25 to 35.
But we can just use
25 to 34, sorry.
34.
Yes, please.
Then
35 to 44.
35
to 44.
44. Then
we have 45 to 54.
45
to 54.
54.
Then we have 55 years and above.
So that will be 5.
Yes, please.
55.
5 years and above.
Okay, good. So if you are going by the categorization strategy. Assuming your respondents are not comfortable declaring their exact ages, then this is how you enter it. Please, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, assuming in your entries, you realize you've made a mistake somewhere and you want to go back to correct it, right? So you just have to come back there again. Oh, I did not even save already. I said more. Let's start again. So one is what?
Below 25 years.
Below 25. Oh, I didn't say it here.
25 to 34 years.
25
to 34 years.
So go 25 to 34 years.
We have 35 to 44 years.
35 to 44 years. So that will be 3.
Yes, please.
Then 4.
We have 45 to 54 years. Then we have 55 years and above.
You add, then
Okay.
Now, so please don't forget, don't say we've learned it the hard way. You always have to be saving. And as I was saying, in order for you to not lose your data as a result of power outage or anything of that sort, this is what I meant. Have you seen this save button has been activated? Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
So it's a floppy disk, you can be clicking on it to be saving as and when you are working, right? Okay. Now, let's say you have realized that you made a mistake in your definition of ages, right? So you want to go back and correct it. Just, you see the three dots that are following the 5 years here. Click on it. It will pop up the interface for you again. Now, then you search the specific one where you made a mistake. Let's say the last one, we were supposed to add years to it, but we forgot. The moment you go back and you select it, it will activate it for you to edit. So you can always go back and forth to add. Please, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What's the input? It can also be returned. Okay. All right. Now, then education. How was it also defined on your questionnaire? Education.
Okay, so we started from diploma.
Okay, so 1.
Diploma.
Which means the why you were in how.
Yes, please.
But let me draw a distinction here. You see, this one, we are entering the data from scratch. Assuming you now have an Excel sheet, then it is a different procedure altogether where you have to import the data into your software. So we are now trying to enter the data into the system to define its dimensions. Then the next one is what?
Bachelor's degree.
So we can just say bachelor's.
Yes, please.
Then third one.
Then we have master's degree. Master's.
Fourth
then we have
one.
doctorate or the PhD.
PhD.
Yes, sir. Yes, please.
You should have added any other.
Oh, okay.
The reason why we add any other is that someone may be having a senior high school certification.
Yes, please.
Others may be having middle school living certificates. Others may not even be having certificates. In fact, so those of you that have worked in different work environments, you will appreciate where I'm coming from. There are individuals in the system who did not get in with any sort of credentials, but they have been able to learn the skills and the task from scratch, and they are now matured experts in their community of practice. So you will have to create room for all the such individuals in anticipation that they may be available to also answer your questionnaire. So, Madam Fan said this is what we are working with, right? All right. Now, so gender, another important component which is for us to pay attention to is the measure. Now, the moment you activate it, it will give you three main categories: scale, ordinal, nominal. When we use the scale, we use the scale when your measurement instrument is either interval or ratio. By default, the scale in SPSS allow room for both interval and ratio instruments to be treated the same way. Please, is it clear? Then we use ordinal whenever we are dealing with ordinal scale. So if you are using an ordinal measure, then you select this one. And nominal, whenever we are dealing with categorical variables and other variables for which the variations within it does not have any meaning. On that basis, what would be the appropriate scale to select for gender and why? Hello, are you there? What would be the appropriate scale to select for gender and why?
The gender will be nominal.
Nominal, why?
Because it's categories. They are
Okay.
either male or female.
They are either male or female, and it is categories. And the more important reason is that the numbers that we assign for those categories does not have any meaning in value. By implication, we could have said male is 1 and female is 2. It does not mean the value of female is higher than that of males. And the 0 that we have used to define males here does not mean males are of lesser value or importance. Please, is it clear? That is why we are using nominal. Then age. What will we use for age? Based on how we have valued it here, what will we use for age?
Scale.
We use what?
Scale.
Scale.
Yes, sir, scale.
Why scale?
So say
Because
the scale
interval.
is numeric and can be measurable.
It's numeric and it's what?
Measurable.
It's measurable. Okay, any other differing view?
I think ordinal.
Why ordinal?
Um,
It would have been ordinal if we allowed them to list their actual ages. Because we have grouped
you are
them.
saying something, but I cannot hear you well.
Hello?
Yeah, hello.
So I said it would have been ordinal if we allowed them to state their individual ages. But because we have grouped them, we should use scale.
We
It's
use
an
what?
interval
Scale.
now. Yes.
Okay. All right. Any other differing view? No, so I want those that said we should use those that said we should use scale. No, I want to hear the explanation. I think it was
I said scale.
yeah.
Well.
Yes. So can I hear your explanation?
I chose scale because I think it falls under interval
There are intervals with
When
what we
we are
are
measuring
doing.
age, think about yes. Yes.
Okay.
Equal intervals.
So there are equal intervals. Now, let's check whether these intervals are equal. Are you observing? So are you trying to say below 25? That is from per to 25. It can be equated to 25 to 35. Please, is that what you people are saying? Or below 25, from per to 25, it can be equated to above 50, 55 and above. Is that what you are saying? If that is what you are saying, then we can use the scale. Please, are you there?
Yes.
So the way you define and characterize your values will also have implications for how you measure them here. That is why I am always not comfortable when students go out there to be using some of these categories to measure it. At best, it is just, how do you call it? It's just percentages that you can use to analyze such data sets. But for age, if you were to create a space to capture the exact ones, then you can do beyond percentages and those simple counts. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
So ordinarily, age is supposed to be on at least an interval, or if you did it that you gave a space, then yeah, it becomes an interval. But how we have characterized this over here, it is very difficult to treat it as an interval because the intervals here are not equal, strictly speaking. And this will have implications on the sort of further analysis that you'll be running. The coding we've done over here too cannot be treated as ordinal, unless you people are trying to say that if someone is 55, then the person is in terms of age, the person is older than someone that is below 25 years. If that is the rationale for doing the categorization, then you can treat it as ordinal over here. Wherein the one which is here will signify the person has actually scored 1. The 2 will signify that there is a meaning that the person scored 2 in terms of their age. So normally when students go and come with such data sets and they use categories to measure age, height, length, and all those kind of things, at best, what I can suggest for you to do is to attach meaning to such labels and treat it as ordinal. Please, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now,
Yes,
if you
sir.
want to treat it as a scale, then you will have to leave a space for them to give you their exact age, which you can then come back to compute sophisticated analysis from it. Now, let's go to education. The thing is very sensitive. So the moment you touch something, let's go to age. Sorry, the education. This one, how is it going to be measured? And why? Education. Wait, mommy, I'm fast. So now time we have some. Should I be calling names?
So, sir, with mine, I'll take ordinal.
Ordinal. Why?
Yes, because with ordinal, it has a clear order or ranking.
Mm-hmm. Which indicates that if someone scores one, then the person in terms of their level of education, it is low. But if someone scores 4, then their level of education is what? High.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
that can be logically used as an ordinal ratio. All right. So that is the variable view. Now let's go back to the data view and see. Can you see some changes over here? Can you see some changes here?
Yes, sir.
What are the changes?
So above we can see gender, age, and education.
Okay. And their skills are also what? Attached to them.
Yes, please. They are still
Now,
attached.
so do you all remember how we coded gender? Do you remember? So let's go back and check again. Gender was what? 0 was for male
0.
and 1 for female. Which
Yes,
means
please.
if you enter 2, 3, 4, SPSS will not understand it for male and female. And I think it is clear why it will not understand. Because by definition, we want it to operate by saying that anytime you see a 0 there, that 0 represents what? Male. And anytime you see 1, that 1 represents female. So if you now go and introduce other numerics, which you have not defined under your value labels, then SPSS will be confused. The same applies to the age and the education. So now, gender was supposed to be what? 0 and 1, Meboa.
Yes,
So
please.
let's create some fictitious data from scratch. So to activate it, just place the cursor there and be typing the numbers. So let's say normally, let's make it balanced. So 1, 2, 1. Hey,
No.
my starting here mistakes.
1,
0,
0.
1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. So let's make it up to 10, right? And age. The age it was from what to what? Is it 1 to 5? Let's go and check.
Yes, please. 1 to 5.
1 to 5. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 1, 2, yeah. 2, 5, 4. Okay. Education was what? 1 to 4. Anamiwa.
Yes, please.
1 to 4. Good. Normally, I'm a PhD for no the one shut and also. Diploma 2, 1, 2, then degree 2, 3, then master's 1, 2, 3, PhD 1B, then additional degree. Okay. Are you following? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any
Yes,
challenge
sir.
so far?
So I need you to go over the measure. That part again.
The measure.
Just the last review.
You mean these
Why
measures?
we chose nominal, why we chose ordinal, why we chose nominal. Yes, please.
Yes, they are based on how we have defined them over here. Under normal circumstance, age is supposed to be scale. But the moment you use categorizations to define it, then strictly speaking, it becomes ordinal because by implication, anytime we see 1 here, it means the person has, in fact, the interpretation will be difficult because the suggestion is that the person is younger, below 25 years. And if anyone chooses 5, the implication the person is perhaps nearing pension and beyond 55 years. And so, strictly speaking, the categorization of ages on a questionnaire, we don't just do it anyhow. It has to be accompanied by, how do we even call it? You know, there are stages of human development. We have the Erickson's social development skill. Then we have, is it Eric Fromm? he also has a way of demarcating how human beings develop, right from childhood till the time you retire, you go to you die. So that should be guiding how you even do your division, so that when it comes to their interpretations, to be easier. But we are just using a worse way to illustrate, and that is how come the intervals are not even consistent. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, let's run some simple descriptives. Anytime you want to run a particular descriptive, whether frequencies, find the mean, standard deviation, minimum number, maximum number, and all that, you come to the analyze option in the menu bar. Are you able to see my cursor moving?
Yes, sir.
So you click on analyze like this. And can you see descriptives?
Yes, sir.
So the moment you point descriptives, it points a number of options to you. So what are the other options that you are seeing beneath descriptives?
The Bayesian statistics, we have tables, compare means.
No, sorry, I'm talking about the drop-down menu that popped up when we highlighted descriptives.
So we have frequencies, descriptives, explore, crosstabs, the TEF analysis, ratio, the P2P
KP
plots.
plots, very good. Each of them can be used in running some type of analysis. But for starters, let's start with frequencies, right? Okay. Can you see the new interface that has popped up?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good. Who can describe what is within it for me? To make sure you are seeing it.
Okay, so with the first box, we have units, gender, age, and education. Below, we have the display frequency tables. And in between, we have the move arrow in between. Then the other box on top is variables.
Good. Now, anytime you want to run descriptives in this context, frequency on a particular variable, let's say gender, you have to select that particular variable and then you move it into the second box here. So let's say we want to run frequencies for descriptives on our data set, right? You will select it, then you use the arrow here, arrow moving to the right here to move it to the next variable box. Have you seen some changes?
Yes, sir.
Good. Once this is done, then you go and demarcate exactly what you want to do. In fact, we can go beyond it to do, so this is age, Mebua. No, this is gender.
That's gender.
Gender, okay, so gender there, you should be interested in only the, how do you call it? We say. Okay, now another thing you have to click is create APA style tables. This is important because if you are going to use it to write your report, which is your project work, we expect all your outputs to come, the tables to be in a form that is required by APA. And are you familiar with the APA tables? Are you familiar with the APA tables?
Yeah, they mostly do not have vertical line.
They mostly do not have vertical line. So it's only the top and the bottom. Even if something will be within it, it is just to distinguish the varied numbers and variables that will be within it. Okay, so if you select this one, this version of SPSS is able to create it directly for you so that you can copy and paste it in your write-up. All right. Please, can you still see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Currently, what are you viewing? Is it a output viewer?
No, that's
No, sir.
yeah.
Okay, then let me select that one for you. Can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
Good. So we have just run for the frequencies of one variable, which is gender. And this is the results that we are getting. Now, in terms of appreciating the results, the statistics suggest that the number of cases is what? 10. In other words, number of participants or respondents is 10. And there are no missing variables. Assuming one of the respondents had not indicated his or her gender, then that the number of non-responses would have showed that down here. But in this circumstance, because we entered it from scratch and we paid attention to everything, we are not having any missing value. Then, in terms of the percentages, 5%, 5 of our respondents, representing 50%, are males, whilst the other 5 of our respondents, denoting 50%, are also females. And this indicates that as far as gender is concerned, our respondents are balanced. So that is a simple way you may choose to interpret this output we currently have on our screen. If it were to be for a particular organization, then your interpretation would say that based on these percentages. Hello, can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So if within an organization you have 50% of them being males and 50% being female, then we can interpret it by saying that indeed the organization has a balanced gender rate as far as their gender distribution is concerned, because half of them are males and half are females. So that is a simple interpretation we can advance for this output. Now, you see currently we have only one log here, which means that we have only issued, how do we call it? One command. Please, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, we can navigate from here to continue our analysis, or we may decide to go back to the data view session and continue analysis. Whichever one you are comfortable with, you can choose to do it that way. So let's go back and now run descriptives. So now let's do for all of them. Okay. Now these skewness and ketosis, we normally take them into consideration when we are doing normality tests. But those ones will come to when we start picking the, how do you call it? We start tackling the specific parametric tests and non-parametric tests. So for now, at least these ones are okay. In fact, there are some crap we don't need it. If it were to be continuous variables like scales, then those ones we could have checked whether their summations are giving us certain metrics. Okay. Do you see any changes?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
What are the changes?
So with this descriptive statistics, it has combined all the variables.
Okay. What else?
And with this one, we have minimum, maximum, the mean, and the standard deviation.
Okay. Okay. Good. So we are all witnessing the same screen. Now, for the descriptives, strictly speaking, it is not relevant to be using mean and how do you call it? Mean, standard deviation to be interpreting a variable like gender and education. But for in our context, for the way we measured education, at least it will make some sense if we had defined it properly. This is so because when you say 50% of the participants are males, it makes practical and managerial sense than saying 0.5% of the participants, the mean gender obtained was 0.5%. If you get some of this, you are dealing with human beings. So the moment fractions and decimals comes in, it does not make any meaning. And that is why I was saying that anytime you are running a particular descriptor, you have to know which to run for what. So the most suitable one for, did you do, when you were doing when you were doing your research methods, were you introduced to measures of central tendency, measures of dispersion? Did you do that? Hello? Are you there?
A bit of.
Come again.
We did a bit of it.
Hey, your voice is very foul.
I said he mentioned them in class.
So please go and revise those things. That one will demarcate how you will be the right analytical tool for interpreting various variables such as gender, education, and all that. So that right from the outset, you know, for gender, education, marital status, it is appropriate to use frequencies to analyze them and not mean and weight. But just for illustration purposes, I want you to appreciate some of these things. In fact, let's go back to the data set and let me do some manipulations there so that it will be clearer. Is it clear? Can you see the screen now?
Yes, sir.
Now let's introduce another variable. We need to say engagement, employee engagement. Now, so still engagement. Then engagement, normally it is measured on a 5-point Likert scale ranging from 1 to 5. So 1 will be least, agreement, agreement. Strongly, strongly disagree. Then 2 will be what? Two will be what? Disagree. Disagree. 3 will be neutral. Well, please pay attention to how I'm coding them all. 4 will be agree. Then 5 strongly agree. Okay, good. Now let's change it to 0 decimal places. And then, so the scale of measurement for this one will be what? What will be the scale of measurement? Hello? What will be the scale of measurement?
So, ordinal,
Why ordinal?
because it's ranked.
It's ranked. Okay, for now, you are correct. You are correct not because it is ranked here. You are correct because when we go to the data view, engagement has only one item, which is not going to be aggregated to constitute a composite variable. But if we had maybe 5 dimensions of engagement, so we have engagement 1, engagement 2, engagement 3, engagement 4, engagement 5, then we could have selected a scale or an interval scale because the end goal is to aggregate it to create a scale and not and go beyond the ordinal valuing of it. Is it clear? So let's say
Yes, sir.
between 1 to 5. So mobile numbers will be mommy. The answer 4, 5, 4,
So 4,
3, 5, 5,
2, 1.
2, 1, and then last one
3.
3. Okay, good. Now let's run the analysis again and see. So let's first of all do frequencies. This time around, let's do for all of them and see. Okay. By the way, are you seeing how it is creating the APA tables for us? On the line is deeper at the top and also at the bottom. Exactly. So that is it. Now the descriptives for when there are no missing data.
We can't see your output.
Come in. Oh, are you sure?
Yes, please.
Sorry. I'm still within the roadway. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
So we have there are no missing values for our entries. For gender, it's 50-50 as we saw the other time. Now for age, 30%, 3 respondents representing 30% indicated they were below 25 years. And you see, this one makes more meaning than using mean and standard deviation to interpret age, an age variable, which is measured on a categorical basis. Okay. 24, one of the respondents representing 10% indicated they are within 25 to 34 years. Interpretation, I may know. Then 2 of the respondents representing 20% also suggested their age fall within the bracket of 34 to 44 years. While other 2 respondents denoting 20% also indicated their age fell between 45 to 54 years. Again, 2 respondents representing 20% also suggested they are 55 years and above. Oh, no. So that is for the age. For education, we have 4 main dimensions for education. And of these, 4 of the respondents, representing 40%, were having bachelor's degree certificates. This was followed up by 3 respondents representing 30% that also possess master's degree certification. Additionally, 2 respondents representing 20% possessed diploma certificates, whilst the last respondent held a PhD certificate. This implies that most of the respondents, not majority, so here you have to be very, very careful with your choice of words. Most of them had at least a bachelor's degree. Looking at the percentages, we would have used majority when we are talking about 50% and above. But the number of respondents having bachelor's degree, although they constitute on the larger side, they are 40%, and that is not beyond 50%. So please take note. Then engagement. So engagement, when it comes to the level of engagement, 40% of the respondents indicated that 40% of the respondents representing 4 were. Hello, can you hear me? Or it is breaking?
So we can
We
hear
can hear
you.
you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So when you are interpreting something of this sort, the variable is engagement. And engagement varies from whether the person is least engaged or strongly engaged. Now, from the frequency percentages that we have here, most of the respondents, that is 4, constituting 40%, were strongly engaged, whilst 10%, indicating just one of the respondents, were least engaged. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, I shared a data set with you. Have you
Sir,
all
please, I have
received?
a question.
Yes. Go on.
Please, the output modifier, the things under it, are they necessary or they are just there for?
Okay, these ones are the 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 descriptions of the various commands you have executed so far. So normally at this level, you don't pay keen attention to these ones. It is only when you are getting errors that you will have to come here and see why you are getting those errors.
Okay, so please, a request. Can we purposely create an error to see how that will affect the whole
The whole
analysis?
the
If
whole
it
analysis.
would,
Okay.
yes,
So
please.
let's go back to the data view, and in fact, let's start with missing data. Can you see my screen?
No, sir.
Is it visible now?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Inti yɛmfa say in our entries, the danger bureau. Let's delete this one. So the moment there is a missing data, it will come as dots. Here too. Let's delete this one. Then for age, let's delete this one. For way, let's delete it. And you are likely to encounter some of these things because when you are collecting data using Google Forms, in fact, whether it is a questionnaire that you have printed for them, you will realize a number of them will not be filled. And so when you are also inputting it, you are going to encounter some of these things wherein there will be missing data. Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Now, So let's go back and run it again. Let's start with the frequencies. Okay, they are all selected. Boom. Are you following?
Yes, sir. Sir, please, your output.
Yeah. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Are you able to see some changes in the statistics? Let's start with the statistics table.
Yes, please.
What are some of the new changes you are seeing here?
So we can currently see there are some values within the missing side.
Okay.
So for the gender, we have 2 missing values: the age to education and engagement to.
And now look at the percentages of the gender. Are you seeing some changes there too?
Yes, sir.
What are which aspects are we witnessing?
Within the respondents.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier
So the
we
number
had
of respondents have reduced.
Yes, please.
And their percentages too have dropped. In fact, missing data is 20% of it. Now for the age, that one too, we have just one missing data. For education, one, and for how do you call it? For engagement, there is one missing data. Are you seeing it?
Yes, sir.
So, under normal circumstances, if you have missing data like this, then are you saying it is telling you to replace? Okay, let's go to number of valid percentage, cumulative percentages. In fact, let's compare it with the previous one. So here, this one too, it is still not giving us pointers as to how you will go back and modify and address the missing data. But to address missing data, what you can do is that where is the statistics? You see, it gives us an indication of the various aspects of the variables that are missing. So for gender, 2 aspects are missing. For age, it's just 1. Education, 1. And engagement, it is also what? 1. We now have to go to the data set and search for those ones. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let me go back to the data viewer. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
No, sir.
Oh,
No, sir.
okay. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So normally, if you have missing data like this and you want to trace exactly which of the respondents had those questions not attended to, there are 2 main heuristics. The first one is that you can go back to the questionnaire if it was hard copies that you received. Mind you, in fact, there is something I should have taught you from scratch. Each of these respondents, although we have 1 to 10 labeled over here, once you come from the filled with your questionnaire, you have to code each of the questionnaires. So assuming you had 10 respondents, then you have to create a cell here. Create a cell here and label them. So let's first of all go to the variable view. This one is, how should we call that particular, let's make it respondent ID.
Respondent.
Come again.
I say yes.
Capital respondent ID, like this, right? Now, respondent ID. So the presumption is that the first questionnaire we coded it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10, right? In fact, let's make it 0 decimal places. Okay, so you first of all have to trace which of the respondents is having some missing data. It is respondent 3. Are you observing? Respondent
Yes,
3.
sir.
Then
Yes,
you can
please.
go back to the questionnaire which you have coded respondent 3 and check whether indeed the person did not indicate their gender so that you do a follow-up. Now, let's say you use Google Forms to collect the data and you have realized that the respondent did not provide a clarification for their gender. Then that one, the DIO, because you will have no way of tracing them, especially when you are dealing with a data set that is very, very large. So like 10,000, 20,000. How will you know this one is maybe Kumsin from Stanchats, or this one is Mildred from Kasapa? It will be very, very difficult for you to trace. The only other aspects which you may use to narrow your search down is to check the other aspects of your data to see whether it can be used in tracing them down. So maybe you were collecting the data from banks in Ghana, or maybe from various branches of a particular bank. So you can then go to that particular variable and check branch. And within that branch, if you know that you gave 10 of the questionnaire to males and 5 to females, based on that extrapolation, you can now know that, oh, okay, then this particular missing data is SMSC or Bentin. And you will have to do that for all the other missing ones. However, if you have no way of tracing it, then you will have to be creative here by looking at the trajectory of the person's responses. Some suggest that, let's say we were measuring engagement and one of the sub-dimensions or one of the questions of engagement was not answered, but the person had chosen 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Then you can average it and use the results to represent the missing data. If it is satisfaction, you can average it and use the way to represent the missing data. But as far as categorizations like education and WAMO is concerned, you will have to treat it as, you will have to relabel it or code it for SPSS to understand that indeed it is actually a missing data. In fact, one way of searching and replacing all those ones is that, so you do control find like this, and you see all the missing data are coming as what? Dots. So you will find next. Are you seeing that it is moving to identify all the missing data? Are you
Yes,
seeing?
sir.
Yes, sir.
And the moment you move to another column and you do the search again, it will trace all the missing data there. If you move to another column and you start searching the missing data, it will be moving. So that is a heuristic way you can use to identify all missing data in your data set. Having found them like this, if it is about gender, age, education, and you are not able to trace it to their responses on the questionnaire, you can leave it like this. Once you run, the data will run all right. If it is about other dimensions such as engagement, satisfaction, or a continuous variable, that one you can be using the averages suggestion I was indicating, but you have to report all these things in your data diagnosis and preliminary analysis, so that whoever is reading it will know there are certain portions of the data that you have tampered with, just because you were not able to trace the exact score of the person. Those that are also not very transparent will just go ahead, and I know students do that, but they will go ahead and just input some numbers here for us. So this one is 0101. To the area 1, and it will solve anything, which I wouldn't recommend. It is, as much as possible, it is important for you to be very, very transparent in all your datings and reportage. As I mentioned, in social sciences, in fact, if you go to field and you come back with a clean data set, which does not have some of these issues in it, and you are running, your reliability scores are all 90%, 90, 99. Your VIF, variance inflationary factor, your validity scores, they are all giving us higher scores. Then there is a huge question mark whether you have cooled your data. So it is expected that some of these things, because human beings are bound to be making errors. In fact, some of the errors can be coming from your end when you are inputting it. It is expected, but the errors shouldn't be superseding or superimposing the majority of the data set that you are running. Is it clear?
Doc, but I think that is very common with the manual administration of the questionnaire, because if it is Google form or any of the online forms, you may have to make it mandatory. If you don't answer this question, you cannot move to the next one.
Exactly. That is the thing I was coming to. So the novelty in the use of Google Forms is such that there is an option for you to lock each of the questions and make it a precondition for the next question to also emerge. Once you do it that way, then every aspect of your questionnaire will be attended to. But there is a challenge with that one too. Normally, if you have a battery of items on a particular variable displayed on the person answering his screen, and he answers and forgets one of them, the person cannot proceed to the next question. And if the person is not able to navigate to see exactly which one that has not been answered, the person may be frustrated and may decline to even continue altogether. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So if the person declines to complete your questionnaire for you altogether because he is struggling to go back and forth, that will be a huge blow to your data collection exercise, compared to a situation where just one or two of them will be missing in your analysis, particularly when a chunk of them is available for further analysis. So it is a decision you have to make when you are designing and sending out the questionnaire. In fact, you can put a notification as one of the preambles of your questionnaire to alert them of some of these things. But the challenge is that the more you write plenty for them to read before they answer, the more it's kind of makes them feel some way. Again, if Another decision you can take when you come back from the field and you are having some missing data is that if they are not plenty, those ones you can just delete them and work with the ones that have complete data. And all these things have to be reported as part of your data diagnosis, the preliminary data diagnosis and analysis. You have to report on all these things so that whoever is reading your methodology and data analysis will understand that indeed you came back from the field with 5,000 respondents, but after cleaning, and all these things are what we mean when we say you are cleaning the data. After doing all these exercises, you realize, and some of them, maybe 50 respondents, had not provided answers to some salient portions of your questionnaire. And so those 50 respondents were dropped. And the remaining 4,500, say 4,950 were subsequently used for your further analysis. You can be reporting on all these things transparently, and no one will begrudge you for being honest or transparent.
So say,
yes.
The situation whereby you drop these responses, for example, the 50 responses you talked about, and hereby the case, you are trying to explain it to someone, and the person is like, okay, so instead of deleting those responses out, why didn't you keep them? And during the analysis, you state that, for example, you using the missing variables to explain.
Yeah, that is also possible. That is what I'm saying. When it gets to that level, the decision relies on you, the analyst, and the story you are trying to paint. If by dropping 50, it will not affect the explanatory power of your model, you can go ahead and do that. If by dropping them, it can also affect certain reliability and validity metrics you have already received, then you can retain them. And when you are reporting such facets of it, for instance, gender, then you can clarify that although data was obtained from 10 respondents, it was observed that 2 of them failed to indicate their gender. And for that reason, that is why you are getting demarcations for only 8 out of the 10. Then of these, 4 were males and 4 were females. Nobody will begrudge you if you go about it this way.
Okay, sir.
Doc, what about if your sample size is 10 and you decide to collect for 12, so that when you come in, some of these discrepancies, okay, you will drop the 2 and
it
then
cushions it. Exactly. And that is what the last time we met face to face, I was saying that when you use the sample size determination formula to compute your minimum sample size, it is important that you always add on, so that when you go to the field and there are some non-responses, at least the additions you introduce will be able to cushion it. Again, when you start cleaning your data and you witness some of these things, when you the moment you drop the ones that are having missing data, it is not going to affect you because you already made room for these things and it is going to cushion it. And so a lot of the thinking has to go into your planning and the designing of the questionnaire and the administration.
How do you say?
Yeah, well.
So say a situation whereby maybe the target sample is, for example, we have 100. Here lies the case, you are within the organization and only 70 were able to give you were willing to answer these questionnaires. And out of that 72, you have about 20. Yes, please.
Okay, so my suggestion to you is that in order to do any statistical analysis, the idea behind statistical analysis is that you are trying to provide an explanation on a given representation of a particular population. And the higher the representation of the sample, then the higher the chances of extrapolating your explanation to represent that of the larger population. So based on this idea, it is important that anytime you are going to run an analysis and you want people to take you serious, then you should not be going by 70 respondents, 100 respondents, and define by the problem you are trying to address and the research questions you are also trying to answer. If you are going into an organization and you realize that the workforce over there is about 100, then it should give you a question mark. If it is about 50, it should give you a question mark. That question mark is indicating that you cannot use that small sample size to do any serious analytical analysis for people to take you serious. Rather, the need arises for you to find similar organizations that are also within the same community of practice so that you can bring all those organizations on board. Under such circumstances, the context for the context of your organization becomes selected companies or selected organizations. The point I'm trying to make is that under such circumstances, you can select more than one company to be your unit of analysis. If it is in the banking industry, don't say the car bank at Circle has only 15 respondents and you are just going to use them. 25 and answer. Rather than doing that, you can add SG within that space. You can add EcoBank, StanChart, Mumbai Banks, Ghana Commercial Bank, and all that. And by so doing, you will be able to get enough representation of the sample to make an argument and further extrapolation for the population that you are trying to do a study on. Please, is my explanation clear?
Yeah.
And that is why I always advise my students that if you are doing a quantitative study and you want people to take you serious, please don't be using 50 respondents. 50 respondents, you might as well go qualitative. Because it will be very difficult for you to convince me or any statistician with just responses from 50 participants to do analysis now, but will be take you serious. Especially when you are saying maybe you are doing it in the banking sector or you are doing it in the extractive industry. You are doing it in the telecommunication industry of Ghana and you are using 50 respondents. Exactly what story are you trying to say, especially when you claim you are doing a quantitative study? Please, are my expositions clear enough?
Yes, Doc.
Yes,
Very
sir.
good.
Into more my margin, some of 100, 150 for your project work now. You are advised. Now let's do the data set I shared with you. Say you still have it. Hello.
Yes, sir.
So we are just going to go through it quickly to see how you may also upload or open a data set from your SPSS. This one, I just use it for simulation, so I'm not going to see, right? It was just for demonstration. So let me close and then let's start from the other end. I know it is almost time, but I'll need about 10 more minutes to complete this part. So bear with me. Can you see my screen? Can you see
Yes,
my
sir.
screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we've learned how you can input data into the SPSS and define the features of the variable. We are now going to try how to import data into SPSS on the premise that you already have the data set saved somewhere on your computer. And so the challenge is how to navigate to locate it and then you open it, right? So the same procedure, you open the SPSS, all right, like this. Hey, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you open it like this, then you come to the menu bar. The menu bar, you come there like this. Hey, I even forgot to. So I'll show you the syntax option with this particular demonstration. Now, after clicking you click on File. Then once you click on the file, you see you have several options here. You have New. Assuming we were going to input the data ourselves, then we will come to New. Then you click on the data. Assuming we are going to open an existing file that we were already working on, we can use this particular command. But this time around, we are going to trace a data set on an Excel sheet. So those of you that are going to use Google Forms to collect your data for the assignment, once you come to the import data, there are several types of data you can import. Can you mention them if you are able to see my screen?
Okay, so we have database, Excel, CSV data, a test data, SES. We have the stata.
Yes, data, yeah. So essentially, beyond SPSS has opportunity, it grants you the opportunity to open several data files. And those of you that are going to use the Google Forms, it will come as a CSV file. So you may use this option. Unless you work in it and convert it to an Excel file, then you will choose this option. Assuming we were working with a Stata software and we have saved the Stata output, which we want to bring here, that is the option we will use. But for now, we are working with an Excel file. So this is what you select. Can you see it? Can you see the Excel?
Yes, sir.
You will select it like this.
Yes, sir.
Another window will pop up. You see another window has popped up. This window grants you the opportunity to navigate and locate your Excel file, right? So now, by default, it has brought me to my downloads. But that is not where I have saved the Excel file. I now have to navigate to exactly where I have saved it, which means I will not be on your machine to know exactly where you have saved it. If you want to make matters simple, you just save it on your desktop so that you can easily navigate and go and trace it. In my case, I have saved it as one of the documents in my this is the crampo HR analytics class. So I have to navigate. That document is here. Oh, okay. If you're going to go back, you move up like this. That document is located in the 2021 year. But I'm not saying when you are also trying to navigate, this is what you find though. Now in the 2021 year, I now have HR analytics and issues here. Then I have several data sets on Altera, HR analytics, recruitment data sets, Altera, and all that. So I have it in 2026. And I have it in is it in the slice? It's here. So This is the data set I shared with you. And I'm a HR Analytics, 100 employees.
Yes, sir.
So once you are able to locate it, then you select it. You can even double click or you select it like this, then you open. Please, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Once you open it this way, it will give you a snapshot or a preview of the content of the data sets in terms of the variables and the numbers, which is to prompt you to confirm if indeed this is the data set that you are trying to use for your analysis. So once you go through it briefly and you are convinced that this is your data set, then you click on OK so that it opens it for you. Please, can you see my screen?
Sir, it's gone off.
Okay, it's because a new pop-up came. Now, is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, tell me what you can see.
So currently we can see the new data with the employee ID. We have gender, we have age, salary, engagement, the training before, training after, and absenteeism.
Okay, very good. Let's go to the variable view. For the variable view too, what are you seeing?
So we can see the names, which is the employee ID, the gender, the age. We also have the type, which indicates strengths. Then downwards is numeric, the with decimals, the labels, the values. We have
Okay.
missing columns to the end.
Okay. So which means we have to now define all these things, right? Define all these things. Gender. So let's start employee ID. We can ignore it. For gender, it should be what? 0 and 1. And I'm a 1. So 0 is for what? Male.
Male,
1,
female,
female. Okay. Now for age, we can ignore it because look at the data view. You see how I measure the age. I allow them to enter their exact ages. So for that reason, we can ignore the valuation here for age. For salary too, their exact salaries were provided. Hello?
Sir, please, I have a question. So
Yeah.
from the data, the gender is 1 and 2, but at the variable you've done is 0 and 1. Does it affect it?
Make sure my review. Thank you very much. Who is that? Who just spoke?
Franca.
You pay attention to details, but thank you very much. That would have caused a lot of errors for us because we have 0 and 1, right? Which means we have to define that. So let's make the females 2, change, then the males 1, change. Excellent. So this is how it has to be properly coded. For age and salary, we can leave the valuation there because we use the continuous scale to measure it. But for engagement, it ranges from 1 to 5. For training to 1 to 5, for training after 1 to 5. And for absenteeism is in days. And I think the maximum should be 31 days. And the challenge is that you have to now code what each of these numbers here will mean. So you have 0, 1, 2, up to the maximum is saying. Let's go through. I think the maximum so far is 12 days. Is it not the case? Hey, 14. Okay, no, 4. Good. So for
No.
absenteeism, you will have to come here When he cry absenteeism. In fact, let's do for we answer. Engagement. Say it's 1 to 5. 1. Dear Grandpa, strongly. Let's make it simple. SD, strongly disagree. Should I go first? 2, disagree. 3, neutral. 4, agree. 5, strongly agree. Essay. So anytime we see these abbreviations, these are their meaning, right? Now, to make matters easier for us, because the scoring for training and training before and training after are also from 1 to 5, we can, in fact, let's do for 1, then we'll copy. So 1, let me confirm again. Training. Yes, the scorings are 1 to 5. Yeah, and the same applies to this one. In fact, let's just copy these ones now and paste it there. Copy and paste it here and paste it here, with the presumption that they are all on a linear scale. But for this one, we have to do for what? 1 to 10. Yes, sir. Hey, 1 to 12. Yeah, 1 to 12. All right. But for now, let's leave that one and let's go to the skills and do it faster. Now, if you start to know. So the way will be nominal, age will be scale, engagement too will be, because they are, look at something. I will say all these are just single items, right? They are single items that are being used to measure or gauge and the variables. And for that matter, they will all be what? Because they are single items, they will be what? Hey.
Ordinal.
For training there, it will be scale. Because we measure their scores before and after. And for absenteeism too, you can leave it that way. Okay. Let me see something. Now let's run some quick descriptives and see. Let's select all. To select all, you just do Control A and you push here. Then you run. So there are no missing data. Hey, are you able to see the other way? Say, then
No,
the
sir, the
current
output
screen.
is also.
Sir, you didn't select the APA table.
Yeah, I said, who just spoke?
Sir Beatrice.
Beatrice. My own Beatrice.
Yes, sir.
I know that's why you pay attention to details. So let's go back. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
This is just for illustration purposes until there. Yeah. Can you see it now? Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
So there are no missing data. Now, and these are the number of employees, and the recurring percentages that have also been recorded are up to the 100, right? Now, in terms of percentages, for gender, majority are females. Now look at my choice of words. Majority are females, not most, majority, because more than 50% of the respondents are females, whilst the rest, which is 45%, are males, right? For age, here, percentages will not be an appropriate measure of distribution of the age. And who can tell me why? We can't use percentages to measure the central distribution of age here. Who can tell me why? And we can use the same for
Can I
salary.
try?
Yeah, try and let me see.
Because the input was done like it wasn't done on a ratio base. It was like an interval. They filled it themselves, I think.
Yes, it was we captured their ages were measured using an interval scale, but not an ordinal scale. And so we don't have to, if you were to be using those categories like below 25, 25 to 30, 30 to 45, now then that is where we use percentages. So for the other variables such as age, salary, engagement, and all those, we can rather use exact mean of the respondents to compute it in T. Now, let's select age, salary, engagement, training before, training after, absenteeism. And at the options, we will run mean and standard deviation, right? Okay, then you run. Okay. Can you see my screen? Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Now we are able to see the exact mean. We are able to see the average salary. We are able to see the mean engagement score. I said the engagement was varying from 1 to 5. So when we say the mean is 3.10, it means it is more than half or above average. The training scores were also 1 to 5. So if prior to training, the average score of the trainees was 3, and after receiving the training intervention, the average score is 3.22. We can say that there is a difference in the averages of training as far as their before and after score is concerned. But to know whether this difference, so the difference is what? 0.22. If you subtract 3.00 from 3.22, you will get what? 0.22. To verify whether this 0.22 is statistically significant, that is where you will subject it to a PET test. The average score for absenteeism is 6.02. The scores were varying from 1 to 12. So if you are getting 6.22, it is actually high. But whether this is statistically significant is another thing altogether. Please, are you following?
Yes, sir.
If there are any questions, you can ask me for clarification.
So is there a way to generate the interpretation for this table, or you always have to read it yourself and draft the content yourself?
There is a way to do that, but unfortunately, students, you teach them one thing, and they end up abusing it. There is a way of doing it, but as much as possible, you must own it as the researcher or the data analyst, because you can use ChatGPT to assist you in interpreting this output. It may give you an omnibus or a whole scale interpretation that may not even be relevant for the context where you are taking your results to. Maybe there is a way GCTU expects you to be reporting or interpreting your data. But what the other question ChatGPT, I might be answers so then so you have to be careful. You can copy this table and paste it in ChatGPT and give it a command that kindly interprets this output for me using maybe following the APA guidelines, and it will give you something. Should we try?
Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm on for the shortcuts. La ila ila la. But please, you have to be leading the process. And yes, sir, you come back with
Then let's do the other things so that last minute you teach us that one. Let's
yes. In
understand.
fact, for today, I'm done with what we are supposed to be doing. In fact, let's try and answer. There were some questions on the way. So, for instance, if you are asked, you know, good. So when you are asked, I can give you a data set like this for you to go and run. And then some of the questions will be, what is the mean salary? So who can tell me what the mean salary is? Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
So what is the mean salary?
That's 8,593.77.
0.77. Okay. What is the mean age?
40.65.
What is the mean engagement?
3.10.
What is the mean score for absenteeism?
6.02.
Okay. Now, when you are interpreting them, we expect you to be adding the scale that accompanies the variable. So instead of saying 40.65, rather you should say what? 40.65 what? Age is in that.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. So the salary, if it is in dollars, then it becomes $8,593.77 or cedis, depending on the nomenclature, right? And absenteeism, we were provided that it is in days. So then you add it accordingly. If it is a generic score, then you can leave it like that. So for training, it means training score, which means 3.10 max. For training after, that one will be 3.22 max. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, assuming if you had used categorizations to measure age and salary, then you will not be able to find exact means like this. But rather, you are expected to use the percentage. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now,
Sir,
the
please,
standard deviation. Go on.
sir, please, I have a question. So why didn't we use the percentage for the absenteeism days?
Come again.
But rather
Why didn't we use percentage for what?
the absenteeism.
Yes, because absenteeism was measured on a continuous scale. So the suitable measure of dispersion will be the scale. And that one will mean that we can compute the exact mean because it is in days. It makes sense for interpretation purposes when you are computing absenteeism in days, as in percentages. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. For standard deviation, it basically communicates how far one data point is from each other. So for instance, if you compare the various scores one after the other, then the distance for age is 11.3, 11.4, which means the age gap within the data set is quite wide. So like from one, the age difference between the first responder and the second one is expected to be around 11. Is it clear? That is what the standard deviation means. The salary one too, it means that if you compare the salary of this, maybe the first respondent and another respondent, then the gap is expected to be 3,481, which is also not small. It means that perhaps the respondents belong to varied levels of classification. Some may be at the entry level, middle level, upper level, and that may explain why the variations is around this figure. Any other question? Any other question? So the next thing is, in fact, we'll do rigorous one in the coming days. I was going to show you how you copy it and paste on your Word document, but for now, I think you've had enough for today. Let me show one last thing for the interpretation. And I'm not saying that is what you are supposed to go and do. But just to show you that right now, you don't have to be, you don't have to choose certain things before you'll be able to run and interpret data, but you can be guided by some of these generative AI softwares. Okay.
Doc, are we going to take laptops to class for the exam?
Yes, the practical part. You see, the exams will be in two parts, theory and practice. The practical part, you come with your laptops, then I'll give you a data set to run.
All right.
Yes. So one last thing, then even too much. So can you see my screen?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hello.
Please, I wanted to know whether both will be done on one day.
No, not on the same day. There'll be 8, that one day. And I said, we will do the practical later, when you are done with all your papers. So I asked the generative AI to kindly interpret using APA formats, and this is the output I'm getting. Can you see?
Yes, sir.
Life made simple.
Jose?
The life made simple.
No, it depends on how you prompt it, because some of you don't really prompt it well, and it will give you some garbage. I want to me from baby. You are not serious. And even with this, you have to now modify it, polish it, and humanize it. Because you can imagine if all your colleagues are doing the same assignment or they are running the same data set, and they are going to garbage in the same command. First one, so I think that should be all for today. Unless there are further questions for clarification, we will end here and continue, God willing, next week. But there is the Excel sheet that I shared with you. I'm going to add some follow-up questions for you to play with the data. And next week, when we come, I'll be calling you one by one to be running it for me to see whether you have actually learned it. So please take notes. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Beatrice, you are saying A in the voice of Abang Bagbe.
Yes, sir, because I lost track at some point, so I'm scared.
Don't worry. What's the name, Cry? But let me